All right, we're back with another Magical Girl Raising Project volume. This time it's volume 12, Magical Girl Raising Project episodes Delta. So, another collection of side stories. I definitely needed this after the ending of Queens. It actually took me a bit longer than usual to read through this. I just ended up being busy and my heart was broken after the ending of Queens, so I was very scared of being more depressed by one or two of these side stories. Luckily, they were fairly manageable, I would say. So, like usual, we're just gonna run down the list, and I'll give my thoughts, change places for these characters if need be, and we'll go from there. First story this time around was A Witch, a boxed lunch, and an expression of love. This one was a real short one. It involved Top Speed just trying to like do a lovey-dovey trope with her husband. Um, it was cute. She ran after her husband on her broom, and we actually learned that her husband is someone who already knows that she is a magical girl. I mean, he doesn't understand the full details of everything, but just a little cheesy at the end that you know he does understand that Top Speed is a magical girl, which kind of makes her death all the more sad, right? Because I'm pretty sure, at least in the anime, but in Unmarked, Ripple brings Top Speed's body back to the house, and from there it's just I'm sure the husband put the pieces together, and that's just really unfortunate. But it was a cute little intro story. Next up is Magical Shopping. This explored more of Magicaloid and La Pucelle. Magicaloid is continuing to increase. I think she finally gets the A treatment above Stanska. Um, she just keeps reappearing in these side stories, and I'm learning more about her and all her little intricacies, and it's really great. She was trying to sell some stuff to La Pucelle, trying to scam her out of money as she does with many magical girls, but she was doing it because I believe she broke a kid's uh, gift that this kid was preparing for her mother. Um, and she was just trying to, repay that. So she does have a bit of a heart. And it was like really goofy. This is a really goofy set of items that she tries to present to La Pucelle. And it's also really funny because each of these goofy items relate to one of the antagonists in the future arcs, including Unmarked, because this is before Unmarked starts. So I think that's really funny. So there's like, let me see if I have it here. Um, so yeah, there's like a Desu note, which basically removes speech quirks, which is like Melville and her accent, for example. I think there's a coaster that reflects water, and there's more stuff like that. Let's see. Oh, what the best one was like a sticker that prevented anyone from taking your hair, which is so funny because that references Federica. I'm losing what the other ones were because it was one of the earlier stories, you know. But point is, all the goofy items ended up referencing future antagonists, and it was just kind of a gag for that whole chapter, which is pretty neat. And in the end, she gives those goofy items to the girl, the human girl, and the mother appreciated those items a whole bunch. So Magicaloid kind of got a good ending in that sense. Next up, let's see, we have no magical girls at this Blossom viewing. This is a ruler chapter in the perspective of Ruler while she's in her human form. And this kind of reminds me of the first episode's volume where all of the magical girls were connected. A bunch of the unmarked girls are connected because they're basically all in their human forms at this cherry blossom viewing before even some of them become magical girls. So you have Sanai, which is Ruler, and then you have, was it Subasa? Was it? Um, Top Speed in their human form, and you have this nice art of them sitting next to each other, even though Ruler is annoyed by Top Speed's presence. But you have Ripple or Kano standing off of at a tree. You have Magical Lloyd trying to, do her usual selling and occupying spots for people at a price and things like that. And what's interesting is that this story ties into the last ruler story we got, where her co-worker Henmi, Yuka Henmi, was saying that she was so good at all these miscellaneous tasks, and this kind of expanded upon on ruler's mindset about that here. And ruler, ruler's nest at this point. There's just I like her too much, and this her duality of how she presents herself, and how her actions speak for her, and both good and bad. But yeah, just she's one of the greats, and I really did enjoy seeing more of her human side. And it's how do I say? I didn't expect Ruler of all people to consistently get the human side of her explored in the side stories. Like if I'm thinking back on all the what we see from a human perspective, I'm thinking Lapucelle gets that, Pechka gets that. I really didn't expect Ruler. You mostly get magical girl sides of these things, but I really do appreciate it. And this kind of emphasized that each one of the magical girls in Unmarked were connected, and it just makes everything all the more bittersweet because you see them in a peaceful environment, right? Before things go south, and to think they were all in the same place in a completely different context without knowing that they were there. It's just what irony is that, right? Next is Pechka Ponders Autumn Delights. This involved Pechka and her team during the restart arc. Pechka was basically just trying to figure out how to cook food for them in a way that could be eaten quickly. Clientele had her own favorite, Rionette had her own favorite, and Nonako also had her own favorite. She tried putting her stuff into rice balls, but how do I say? I skipped like two, but I'll get back. Anyway, yeah, Pechka's one here. She was just making rice balls, and her brother Tomaki, next to Churn and Mouse, right here, Tomaki made a reappearance, which is surprising, and he was forced to try all of Pechka's weird stuff. And he was, little brother, bleh, it was just nice to see them again. What we do get is an art of Pechka's human form, Chica, which is nice. She definitely was too hard on herself because she looks perfectly fine in the art here. You probably could have gone for Ninomiya just by yourself, maybe with Pechka's food, who knows? But yeah, the girl should have had more confidence in herself, for sure. I had skipped 2. So after Ruler's story was 2 before Pechka. Next is Trick or Magical Girl. This involved one of Snow White's friends, was it Yoshiko? Let's see. Let me just take a quick peek here. Trick or Magical Girl. Basically, yeah, so Yoshiko on Halloween just sees all these magical girls. I don't even think Yoshiko is on this list at all. But point is, we just saw more of her. It was a cute story. I really don't have much to say besides that. Yeah. Next, we have the making of Magical Girl Racing Project. This is involving Keek and Fall. And every time I see more Fall, I appreciate him more and more. You're going above Bluebell and Dark Cutie. You're probably going... you'll go under Ruler. You've earned that spot, I think, Fall. Fall's overworked and underpaid. In fact, he's not paid at all. Keek is running him ragged. And what's really funny about this one, so this is the making of the game that the Restart girls are forced into to kill each other. And, Keek is throwing all this stuff onto Fall to do because they're on a time limit. And Fall is running the diagnostics and the test simulations, and he's run ragged. And I think he, loses some coloration and starts, glitching out from the pressure and stress, which is crazy. He even, breaks at some point and just, rants, which is pretty funny. But, Keek is developing this game, and we just see more of the process behind that. And, I mean, it was it was a story with Keek that I actually enjoyed, but I don't know if that was because of Keek or Fall. We do get a pretty funny art of them where Fall gets all angry, and you can see like Noko and Lapis Lazuli and Biffle and Cherner Mouse in the back, and Keek's looking back in shock, and she's got like I don't know, some sort of monster energy drink rip off by her. Typical shut-in gamer girl, I guess. I don't know, but Keek was pretty alright this time around. She's still staying where she is because she's Keek, but it was actually a pretty entertaining story with her. So, in that sense, I'll give her credit for that. Next was the Petchka Ponders Autumn Delights one, so we did discover that New Year's and a Tortoise, my favorite tortoise, Tepsekame, returned with Nanako-san and Mana. We just explored more of Tepsekame's mindset. She was trying to understand what makes New Year's, and I realized I'm skipping another story again. I am all over the place, but point is, Tepsekame is learning more about the human world, and she just gets real invested in the New Year's traditions, and it's a bit of a gag chapter, but it also just explores more of May's mindset and how she's learning and growing and aiming to be more human, right? Which I love that. I love the content. There we go. Not context. Content with this trio, with May and Nanako-san and Mana. So I'm loving seeing more of that. And at the end, she gets all up in Mana's face about everything, just all curious, and we got a cute art of that. So it's we got a lot of cute and like precious arts this time, which I'm perfectly fine with, because the last couple of arts from Queens, the last few arts from Queens, oh goodness, my heart was not ready. So yeah, actually, I think this might be the most full we've seen of May. We've seen her chibi, and we've seen her lightly floating around a little bit in Limited, but we actually see a good portion of her here, which is pretty neat. And Mana with the dread and get out of my face that she has in this art is pretty funny. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed all of that. Jumping back a story because I skipped it again, we're talking now about Magical Girls on Christmas Eve. This explored Shadow Gale and Piffle. Shadow Gale, we've always seen her trying to break out of Piffle's sphere of influence, right? Whether it's as a magical girl or as a human. So she wants to plan a Christmas party. Piffle not included. She just wants to have that experience of doing something by herself. So she contacts Clantail. I'm so glad Clantail made a reappearance, and in a safe and positive environment. I would love that to be a continuing trend for her, please. But she contacts Clantail, and they plan a party together. It just happens to get completely out of hand. So, funnily enough, this references a little bit the beginning of Jokers, where Piffle and Shadow Gale are in that pocket dimension Shadow Gale created with her tools, because the magical girl party rather, takes place there. And we have a whole bunch of cameos. We have some ramen noodle girl, which I'm sure one of these is probably that, or maybe it's just a random girl from those contests that I mentioned a few parts back. We got the reappearance of all people, Negino, the onion magical girl from Kafuria's side story, and she's like losing against the ramen noodle girl. And hey, my favorite random side character that no one cares about made a reappearance for 2 sentences. I think that's a win in my book, right? We get Lady Proud actually comes in, and we learn that she's turning her blood into alcohol that makes magical girls drunk, and that's why the party goes all crazy. And then Glacian and the rest of her group make an appearance because Piffle ends up going to the party because Piffle is Piffle. Of course, he knows everything that's going on. Yeah, and the most important part, actually, I'm thinking a little more Magicaloid right there. You're gonna get a little extra bump. Maybe? No. Sorami Magicaloid. Yeah, you'll get a little extra bump. Magicaloid appeared again. She has the 5,500,000,000 whatever 5 items as her ability. She pulls one out every day, and that specific day was traveling to a magical girl party beyond time and space. So this is already past when she's dead. So Magicaloid from the past goes into the future, into a pocket dimension to join this magical girl party, and tries to scam Shadow Gale a little bit, as Magicaloid does, for some quick bucks. And so we see Magicaloid interact with a girl she could have never interacted with, and there's layers to this because the girls in Restart fought multiple copies of Magicaloid, right? And there's not that recognition there from Shadow Girl at all, but it is pretty funny. And then even beyond that, Magicaloid gets Shadow Gale to improve her robot form as a magical girl, but Shadow Girl only has enough like tools or supplies or whatever to improve the front part of her body so that it can't be damaged. And that is crazy because if you know how Magicaloid dies, she dies from Alice sticking her hand through Magicaloid's back and crushing her heart or something like that. Which is so funny to me because if in any other situation, Magicaloid would have been fine. But it's just those little jokes that the author loves to put in, even if they're morbid, that really get me. So, Magicaloid, you got oofed, you got done dirty a little bit, but I think that's really funny. And then there's other miscellaneous girls that we see, like someone on a lawnmower, I think, which actually makes a reappearance in a later story in this volume, but. Point is, it was a really fun story, one of my favorites. I'm glad to see Shadow Gale not, wiped of her memories and Piffle alive. So that was a nice little bit of healing on my part. Definitely very nice in that sense. Alright, going back on track here. Princess of the Beach. This was just the 4 princesses, the artificial magical girls, the pure elements going to the beach. That's about it. And Tempest is her usual self, and basically is strutting her stuff, showing off her bikini, and that's like the highlight, I guess. More content of the pure elements. That's pretty neat. What we do get is a hint of the story beyond it, the next story in the queue. Because Deluge and Inferno go and play some sort of volleyball. Turns out that volleyball is for magical girls and is that year's version of the Archfiend Cram Schools Held Survival Games, which is in fact the title of the next chapter, Archfiend Cram Schools Held Survival Games. This is a battle royale. You're collecting flags. We get a lot more content on various magical girls here. Marika Fukuroi and Cranberry actually did fight. It was kind of a tie. It was really cool to see. And then after that, we got some content on Hana Gakukujo, wherever she is here in B, there she is. And she was fighting Styler Mimi. Styler Mimi won with a clever trick. It was actually really cool to see more of Styler Mimi's abilities. Disguising trees herself, Hana even. And even the boundary line, which got Hana eliminated. So that was really fun. Styler Mimi was a highlight for sure. Then we saw Lady Proud and Umbrain. Lady Proud is actually going to go above Umbrain and Kafuria here. She's actually going to go above Captain Grace because her abilities were actually used in a fun way here, and we got a lot more context to what she felt like, or rather how she was in the eyes of Archfiend Pam, because in this sorry, my thoughts blinked out. In this story, Archfiend Pam is commentating along with one of her wings that has transformed into a magical girl, which she named Pammy, which is funny. So Pammy and Pam are commentating the whole thing. Pammy is not here because she's basically just Pam, but we get a little bit of introspection on Lady Proud and how Archfiend Pam sees her as a friend, really, which is interesting because Lady Proud was very insecure about her position in the Department of Diplomacy. So I was actually really glad that we got more of Lady Proud here. She fought against Mad Gardener, that lawnmower magical girl that I mentioned before, as well as a couple of others. And you see that she's using Umbrain as a team, so she can just go all out with her blood. It's here where where we learn is that it's that her blood. Wow, I cannot speak. Lady Proud's blood, when turned into alcohol, that's what makes magical girls drunk. Only that. So unless there's like another ability that can do that, but actually, Lady Proud maybe gets a B for me. She's Twin Dragons Panos, I think, level. In that sense, Umbrain didn't do much. She was just kind of there, but Umbrain appearance pretty neat. And I was really glad that we saw more of Lady Proud for sure. And there was another one we saw. Oh yes, Utakata was made an appearance, and of all people, to defeat Flame Flamey. We've mentioned Flame Flamey in this series since Volume 2. I don't know if she is here at all. Maybe this is her. She looks a little flamey. But we actually see Flame Flamey fight, and it's with Utakata, and Utakata wins. My goat. Good job, Utakata. Yeah, awesome. Utakata was real smart. It was awesome to see her make a reappearance. And yeah, I'm super happy. This is the longest story in this volume, and rightfully so, because it gave us a lot of more tidbits, on different magical girls and their mindsets, which was really fun. In that sense, I'm putting Archfiend Pam right under Bluebell Candy. She's going up a place. That's because we got more of her mindset, and she was a little guilty of feeling glad that Twin Stars Cutie Altair won, because that was her student. But, she's allowed to feel a little prideful, I say. She deserves it. Next is Operation Get Rid of Patricia. Patricia was here. This was a short Shadow Girl story, like 2 to 3 pages long. The Shadow Girl tried a few different things and just failed to get rid of Patricia. We got Patricia's human name, which I am forgetting. We find out that Patricia was in her 20s, and that she was capable even as a human, and that's about it. I mean, Patricia reappearance, pretty neat. That's all I really need to say. Rip Shadow Girl, though, because she blasted herself on accident with bad smelling fish and was stuck in bed. So plan failed on that point. Another thing I just thought of from the previous chapter, Pam's chapter, that one magical girl who could crawl through any crack from Queens made a reappearance here, and it turns out that magical girl is a cockroach and an assassin that was trying to kill Pam and failed, which interesting. And we see Fav in that chapter as well. He's the usual angry, pouty, annoyed at wasting time Fav, yada yada, right? Next up is the last one here. Oh, no, my bad. There's just 2 close titles, which almost look like the same. 2 more left. A Magical Girl Assassination Project. This is apparently very closely related to another story called Snow White Raising Project. Snow White Raging Project, from my understanding, is in the last episode's serialized volume, but was released online first and is meant to be read sometime between volumes 2, 3, and 4, or something like that, or 5 and 6, I don't know. I have chosen not to search it and have just waited until I can read it formally. So there is a little chunk that I'm missing, but it explores Prithvi, Frederica, and Snow White and Ripple after Unmarked. This Magical Girl Assassination Project is apparently a follow-up to that, but I still got enjoyment out of it because it just explored Snow White in her fledgling days as the Magical Girl Hunter. You're gonna go above swim. You finally crossed that boundary there, Snow White. Yeah, she was really cool in this chapter. We saw a lot of her internal turmoil on having to fight magical girls that she considered not so good, and just how she was being hunted because someone put out a bounty for her. We got a little hint of Ripple's extreme worry for her friend. Um, and we see a new character here, Fanlit Fan, who is from Free to Play. From my understanding, these girls with a black background here are all from Free to Play. It is a manga that may have gotten canceled and restarted, I think, as well as a stage play, which I've listened to the opening song for the stage play, sung by this one. Her name is Cleo, I think. Um, Banger opening song, really really cool, awesome voice for the actress for her. But Fanlit Fan is part of or Fanlit Fa. She has a fan, and that she has a magical fan. That's her ability. She basically comes in after Snow White has already defeated the four people that were hunting her. Um, and is wrapping things up. She's part of the inspection department, and I guess kind of pushes Snow White to be more of an ally to the inspection department, which is why she's kind of like that honorary member that Mana explains about in Queens. I don't know much about her, but I don't necessarily dislike her. Um, but I really just don't know much about her. So she'll go there. I mean, seems to have a cool design. She seems a little practical and graceful, you know. If I do get the chance to properly explore free to play, I definitely do want to learn more. But we'll see where we go from there with her. So she's tentative. Season C just because I don't know much about her, not because I like her or dislike her, you know. Yeah. And then lastly, Magical Boys Elegy. Finally, finally, we get a La Pucelle side story that isn't horny. It's a little bit horny, just a tiny bit, but it's not fully wrapped up in that. And that's a little bit of an exaggeration, to be fair, but this one was really interesting because it explored La Pucelle interacting with another boy his age who is another magical girl. This magical girl is Stella Lulu. I actually really enjoyed Stella Lulu. Kaudu is his name. Um, she's gonna go Twin Dragons Panas level, and in that case, I actually think La Pucelle, Lady Proud, is gonna go here. I'm actually liking her more than I thought. Um, but you have a design, and you actually interact a little more. So you're gonna go above Sonia Bean, right there, Stella Lulu. Stella Lulu has the ability to basically master any tool she picks up, and I think that's pretty neat. She has a really cute like design, and the cover of Episodes Delta is surprisingly La Pucelle Princess carrying Stella Lulu, and like Stella Lulu looks all flustered, and I find that entirely funny because that couldn't be further from the truth. If anyone is princess carrying anyone in this relationship, it's the other way around, despite their size difference. Because because Sota is at the beginning entirely flustered, thinking Kaudu is a girl, and he's a boy that chooses to act very effeminate. It seems, going by the dialogue and the paragraphs around it. Um, and I guess La Pucelle is thinking that Stella Lulu is a pro. Turns out Stella Lulu is part of an anti-establishment faction, kind of like Top Pop was. Stella Lulu is really intriguing to me. I really hope I do get to explore free to play F2P to see more of her. Um, yeah, so Stella Lulu was great. I was actually very happy to see a La Pucelle story that focused on her thoughts on what a magical girl should be like and how she compared with Stella Lulu, and just them talking about two magical boys who are magical girls just talking about their passion a whole bunch, right? So that was pretty neat. And then going from there, La Pucelle wanted to try and take down Calamity Mary, or at least like open her heart a little more, so she wasn't as evil or anything like that. And that's how she ended up meeting Stella Lulu, because they were in the Jonam district at the same time. but it was I guess a chance meeting that turned out into a pretty neat story, and we get two pieces of art involving them from Maruino. So we have Kaoru dragging Sota's hand with a smile on his face, and Sota's like, "Whoa," but like silent whoa. He's just like enamored a little bit. And then we have them at Rip Off McDonald's chatting passionately about magical girls when they are magical girls themselves. This one was also really enjoyable. I don't know what to say. Where are you, La Pucelle? I just need to see if I need to put you up or down a bit. Um, you're here with Utakata. Yeah, you're about the same. I'm really, really, really intrigued about Stella Lulu, though. Something tells me Stella Lulu might become one of my favorites just by their attitude in the story alone. So if Free to Play does get some sort of full exploration of what it can be, I am really looking forward to that. And it may be a bit presumptuous of me to rank them here now, just in their appearance here, but I don't know if Free to Play is something worth ranking right now, because I'm pretty sure it was delayed, canceled, stopped, something. Um, Also, I do want to mention that I was aware, or I've become aware that there's a few drama CDs. I may have mentioned it in before, but there's a few drama CDs surrounding the series, regarding the first four arcs up to Joker's. I think it might, or maybe just limited. But involving those characters, there's, like I mentioned, a stage play of F2P with these characters right here, and also, interestingly enough, there is a full album of 10 songs, 11 if you count the bonus song from Stack, but 10 songs from the Unmarked Girls singing songs just in character, in with their voice actors are singing in character as their voices. And I listened to the album a few times already. I might make a bonus video exploring, not exploring, but just ranking or just discussing how I feel about the album, which, surprising favorite song, which I won't reveal here, but really cool album, and I want to just kind of delve into the lyrics on video and go through there. That's probably something after I finish the light novels, though. I want to give myself time to really listen to the songs a whole bunch and truly pick out my favorites of the bunch and rank them as such. And then also, it's something I'd have to prepare as a little bit of a side project, getting all the translations for the lyrics and just kind of organizing my thoughts on how it relates to the characters. And it may not be directly affiliated, right, with the original light novel. It's more so the anime, but any official material of the Unmarked Girls that are out there, I mean, it's endorsed. So there's probably at least a little something for each character there in what they're singing about. So I think it'd be worth it to look through that. But bonus content aside, next time we'll be into a new arc, Magical Girl Raising Project Black. I have it downloaded. I did look at the 16, 15 or so new girls. Don't really know the synopsis. What I do know is that it starts here and ends here. So these are going to be the new girls next time. So look forward to that. I'm going to read it with gusto and with everything I've got. I'm really looking forward. It's been a little bit since we've got a whole new set of characters. So I'm looking forward to what they have to offer in ability, in design, and in story. For sure. And of course, Snow White is still relevant and is part of that. So yeah. Fun side volume. I'm feeling healed and rejuvenated and ready to go. So let's hope I'm not as broken next time. But I guess, that remains to be seen. Maybe I'll need some of Lady Proud's extra special magical alcohol. Ideally, I won't.